Viewers, Donald Trump, the US president, has just dropped a bomb. Not on a country, but on global politics. In a TV interview to a US news channel, he claimed that Pakistan is still testing nuclear weapons. Yes, testing nuclear weapons in secret, viewers. This is his claim. If true, this changes India's entire security picture, as it appears to that August group on the right of your screens, viewers, who's assembling to brief the Prime Minister at the height of Operation Sindoor. You can see that. That's the entire kernel of India's security setup. Trump named Pakistan as part of a trio of nations that never stopped nuclear testing, that includes China. He said this while defending his own demand to restart US nuclear tests after 33 years. So he's basically said that, look, because everyone else is doing it, including Pakistan and China, why should the US not continue? He says Russia's testing and China's testing, but they don't talk about it. You know, we're an open society, we're different, we talk about it. They don't have reporters, i.e. not a free press, that are going to be writing about it. Certainly North Korea's been testing. Pakistan's been testing, unquote. Listen in, viewers.
Russia's testing and China's testing, but they don't talk about it. You know, we're a open society. We're different. We talk about it. We have to talk about it because otherwise you people are going to report. They don't have reporters that are going to be writing about it. We do. No, we're going to test because they test and others test. And certainly North Korea's been testing. Pakistan's been testing.
Pakistan's been testing. Now, viewers, obviously the United States would know, Donald Trump would know. His best friends are Sharif Jr. and of course General Munir. They've had some very private conversations in the Oval Office, so I'm sure he knows something. Now, the US already has enough nuclear power to, quote, blow up the world 150 times, unquote, as Trump loves to say. But if Pakistan has been secretly testing while India has stayed silent, then India has a problem. India hasn't tested a nuclear device since 1998. After Pokhran 2, we face sanctions, pressure, technology, bans, and we imposed our own moratorium. But we also found a way to work around these sanctions, viewers. Nonetheless, since then, our nuclear doctrine has been based on three basic pillars. Number one, maintaining a credible minimum deterrence. That means, viewers, a certain number of nuclear weapons that we think are enough to deter our enemies. We also have a no first use policy. That means that we will never, in a conflagration, in a war, use our nuclear weapons first. And we also believe in no more testing. We may not have signed the CTBT, which is the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty, but viewers, we have taken a moral position and said, okay, we've done what we needed to, we've tested. We know that we can make nuclear weapons, we know how to use them, we know that it'll go off, etc., so we don't need to test. And that restraint has assumed that Pakistan followed the same rules. But Pakistan, viewers, hasn't denied Trump's claim. China rejected it. Pakistan has stayed silent. But silence is not comforting. And to that, if you were to add that China now has advanced systems like FOBs, which can evade missile defense. So if China upgrades and Pakistan quietly tests, where does that leave India? And there's a second issue. Questions still hang over how powerful India's 1998 test really was. Global seismic readings suggested a lower yield than that India officially claimed. That debate was never settled. It might have been settled from the side of the government, but the experts remain divided. So here's a real question. Can India rely on an untested deterrent when its adversaries are testing and modernizing? And if the US breaks the moratorium, India suddenly has diplomatic cover to test again and remove every doubt about its nuclear capability. For 25 years, India has behaved like the responsible nuclear power. But responsibility cannot mean vulnerability, friends. And therefore, tonight we've assembled some very intelligent people to talk about this issue. Lieutenant General Narasimhan, former member of the National Security Advisory Board, is here with us. Lieutenant General KJS Dhillon needs no introduction, former GOC 15 Corps Indian Army. Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow of the ORF. Abhijit Mitra Iyer, Senior Fellow of the IPCS. All of these individuals have spent a whole career dissecting these issues. So let me start first with General Narasimhan. General Saab, the conversation obviously will come around to how must India now respond to these new challenges. First of all, if America were to resume nuclear testing, let's start at the real basics. What do you think would be the impact around the world?
Thank you, Rahul. Thank you for getting me on your show. This moratorium actually has been lifted by President Trump just a few hours before he met President Xi Jinping. Today, of course, he has come out with this explanation as to, he is doing it basically because other countries are doing. To substantiate his view, we don't know about Pakistan. Pakistan's, even if they are tested, I'm sure the world would have known it. That has not happened. But Russia has been actually doing certain things on the nuclear field in the recent past. They did a nuclear-powered missile testing. They also have a nuclear-powered submersible that they brought out couple of days ago. So there are movement towards the nuclear testing part, nuclear weapons coming up into play. The other thing that we need to look at is in 2021, the Federation of American Scientists located about 300 silos which have come up newly in China. That is in the Xinjiang province. So that is something that is happening on the other side. So basic thing forward that much. What has been going forward is the delivery systems. The effectiveness of the delivery systems, whether they can carry multiple independent re-entry vehicles, etc., etc. That is the big thing that is being tested. During Trump 1.0, we'll recall that he also withdrew from the INF treaty, saying that China and others are actually developing their nuclear arsenal, and so he needs to actually then do something about it. And thereafter, certain tests about modernizing the delivery systems, etc., the US has already done. So if you take that as a base, and from there you keep moving up, now the nuclear testing he is talking about, we don't know about Pakistan. If Pakistan has tested something, I'm sure we would have known, we would have come to know. But Chinese also have not been testing since 1996. 1996 was the last time that the Chinese tested any nuclear weapon. Thereafter, they have not tested it. But computer simulations have been going on all over, in all these countries. So that is something that we need to keep in mind. Of course, the North Koreans have been on the way to the Yongbyon reactor that you talk about. That seems to be working towards creating nuclear capabilities. So all this put together, this act by President Trump may actually trigger some kind of a nuclear competition that will come up between various countries. That is the precise reason why START talks were started earlier, basically to restrict the number of nuclear warheads that countries do have. But I think now that system is now collapsing.
That system is collapsing. How should India respond? I'll come to that. But just coming out to Sushant Sareen very quickly. Sushant Sareen, I just want to ask you, if Pakistan was testing, even if it were computer simulations and so forth, would the Indian intelligence establishment know about it? Or do you think it's so well masked and disguised and so forth that it becomes difficult to read what's going on in Pakistan?
Rahul, if the Indian intelligence knew about it, they're not telling me. And I am not privy to what the Indian intelligence knows or doesn't know. But I'm sure I'm sure the Pakistanis are doing some simulations. I'm sure they're doing some testing, just as we would be doing. And if we are not doing, then we are really stupid. So, and I don't think we are that stupid. I really think we would be doing it. So the question is, do we have the kind of data we need? Because again, nuclear warheads also need to be developed. Yes, to some extent, the new warheads that have been developed, that kind of slowed down, especially in the West. but there are more modern warheads that have been developed. So I think if an opportunity opens up because Trump decides to do open testing, then certainly I think that's an opportunity we should not give up. That is one. Second, Rahul, I am of the view that our entire nuclear doctrine is not handed to us by Lord God Himself that it cannot be changed. It is not written in stone. And I think every single word of that doctrine needs to be examined whether it still holds or not. You say credible minimum deterrence. What is minimum? What is your definition of minimum? If you have two nuclear weapon states coalescing together or acting in concert, and I'm talking about China and Pakistan, what is the minimum that you define at that point of time?
Yes.
I think that needs to be questioned, and whether that minimum stays at a fixed number or does it have to increase commensurately. What is credible? Is your deterrence credible? Is it not credible? Because that depends on a number of other factors. Then, do you even have a deterrence? In the sense that the Pakistanis have not exactly been deterred when they were sponsoring terrorism or even when they were doing something like a Kargil. Were we able to deter them at that point of time? Has our responsibility been seen as us being, not aggressive enough, or has it compromised our deterrence? And then finally, on this no first use, Rahul, I think it's extremely important to understand that, there is a certain assumption behind no first use. But if imagine a situation, this is a hypothetical situation, you're faced with a two-front conventional war
Yes.
and two fronts where you have formidable enemies. At what point of time do you decide that you need to either resort to nuclear saber rattling or actually start using nukes to defend yourself, to protect yourself?
Yeah.
At what point of time? Do we have a clarity at what point of time do we need to start doing it? Even if it's on a single front, whether eastern or western. So these are serious things, and
Serious.
simply because we have decided that we have a very strong army, we have good navy and air force, that
Okay. So no, hang on. Let's break this down. I'll bring
Okay.
in Ayyar Mitra, also bring in General Dhillon. General Dhillon, let's take the first of the questions that has been posed by Sushant Sareen. Is our nuclear program credible? There has been conversation around whether we achieved the amount of yield that we were supposed to have, that was officially claimed in Pokhran 2. So I'm asking you, is that debate settled or is it still open?
Good evening, Rahul, and good evening to the fellow panelists and your viewers. First of all, as Mr. Sujantrin brought out this point of credible nuclear deterrence and first use, and General Narasimhan very clearly said that computer simulations or the lab simulations are adequate in today's world to upgrade your systems, warheads and other things. More important today is the delivery system. The delivery system which are non-detectable, which are non-interceptable, and which are sure to reach the intended point of targeting. So our nuclear deterrence or the nuclear warheads or nuclear arsenal, the credibility, even if it is not 100%, 80%, 60%, still it's a nuclear weapon. It's not like any other weapon that, okay, if it is not 100% effective, it will cause this much damage. The damage caused by nuclear weapon is tremendous, and we all aware of it, the people sitting on this panel. But notwithstanding that, the lab simulations and computer simulations are always going on to upgrade our systems of all types, including nuclear. Now, coming to a point which Mr. Sareen brought out of no first use. I agree with him. There is no first use, is not cast in stone.
Yes.
And there is also an explanation of no first use. As we all know, the nuclear warheads are kept at two separate places. They are brought together and then they are mated, oblique, joint, or coupled before they are launched at the place of launch site. So, as per our intelligence, when we come to know that nuclear warheads have come out of two nuclear sites and they have been brought to the launch site and they are being mated now, the intent to use nuclear weapon is considered the first use. We will not wait for the enemy to use the nuclear weapon let it fall on our territory, kill our civilians and soldiers, and then we consider it's a first use. No, sir. Moment the enemy has shown intent of coupling the nuclear weapons, we are well within our rights to stop him from using that nuclear weapon against us. That intent is considered the first use. Second, if we are faced with a situation like Mr. Serene brought out a scenario of two-front war, and we feel that now is the time that we are going to lose either the territory or the soldiers or the equipment or any other national assets, we are well within our rights to say, okay, the no first use doesn't hold good anymore. We are going to nuke you unless you stop, the red lines will be drawn. So these are the policies or the doctrines which are best kept ambiguous. So is the credible nuclear deterrence.
Okay.
We should not, and we should never assign numbers to the credibility, because ambiguity is the best thing. We should never assign the power or the yield or the impact or the effectiveness to the credibility.
Okay, so
ambiguity is the best. Let the enemy find it out.
Okay.
Let the enemy, जैसे air chief ने बोला ना, enemy कुरेद के, let them do it. Why should we make their job easy? We should be very clear that in our lab simulation, otherwise, our weapons are credible and they are effective.
Okay, so hang on. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, look, you look closely at China. They've got systems, advanced systems like FOBs, these are delivery systems and so on and so forth. So they can actually evade missile defenses, and you know how that works. But just a little aside from that, we heard General Dillon say that, look, computer simulations and all of that keep going on and they give you a fair idea. Are these adequate and enough, first, number one? Or do we actually need to carry out physical tests like we've done in the past under a cloak of secrecy, and we managed to do it very, very well? So that's one. And number two, you know, this business of suggesting that, look, we don't need to establish verbally a deterrence by suggesting, a lot of these, America and China and all that have published, and Russia have published exactly down to the last warhead they have under the START and other agreements. So, I mean, why should we be ambiguous, and why are they so sort of forthcoming and so on and so forth?
So there's no rule about ambiguity or clarity. You know, Israel, which has a huge stockpile of weapons, even refuses to acknowledge the existence of those weapons, right?
Yeah.
China doesn't reveal the exact number of weapons, even though France and Britain do reveal the total number of weapons. They don't reveal how many are in a manufactured state, how many are in a deployed state, and if they're deployed on submarines or if they're deployed on aircraft or ground-based missiles or whatever, right? Number one. Number two, let's not take Mr. Trump very seriously. I think he's using this as a way of weakening international guidelines because he wants to do what he wants to do. Now, I'm going to show you a graphic out here. This is an earthquake versus the upper thing in red is the actual nuclear test. The bottom is a earthquake. Now, you see the thing about nuclear testing. Because it happens at a certain point, it is very easy to detect seismically by seismographs, as opposed to tectonic shifts, earthquakes, that is to say, which happens across an entire plate. You see, so it's spread out. And you can see that from this graphic here. You can see the single point origin of a nuclear explosion above, and the multi-point origin of, sorry, this is going into the rest of my this thing. But that is how these explosions are detected. Now, it doesn't matter. People in the Twitter are saying, oh, we could hear we saw these low intensity blasts in seismic shifts in Balochistan. No. Any kind of an explosion, even a non-nuclear explosion of the primary stage, the trigger, if it's a gun type assembly, if it's a implosion assembly, you test the non-nuclear part of it. If it is powerful enough, you can detect it as a man-made explosion. So I'm not taking what Mr. Trump is saying very seriously, because even the last North Korean test was in September 2017. He is creating afwa. I don't know what the exact English, because, Hindi afwa is such a lovely word. I don't know how it translates exactly into English. But he is creating afwa because he is obsessed with it is better, best, biggest, I have the biggest this, I have the most beautiful ballroom, etc., etc. Now, you see, when somebody dies in a car accident, they don't care if they were plowed down by a Mercedes or a Maruti 800. A nuclear weapon is a nuclear weapon. There is no such thing as the best nuclear weapon. Right. It doesn't matter if it's a 1945 era nuclear weapon. It is still, if it is still capable of killing the whole population of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, you have still got a very good weapon. You don't need to make a better nuclear weapon. I have complete confidence in our nuclear weapons. There is no need
No,
for
but
us.
you haven't still weighed in on this business of these competing claims about the Pokhran 2 test. So we had a situation where certain people came out and said the yield was much too low than what was officially flagged.
Look, this is, this is again pseudoscience. Remember, our weapons were tested in extremely soft soil, which is what the area around Pokhran is. Now, if, we all, when bursting crackers was allowed, Rahul, when we were kids, the best bombs used to be the Lakshmi bombs and the atom bombs.
Yeah.
If you ever buried it in loose soil and set it off, it used to dampen the entire thing. Whereas if you put it, there used to be those big concrete cylinders for pipes and water. If you put it inside that, it would actually amplify it. Now, remember, the Pakistanis tested their weapons in very hard granite rock, which amplified their effect. And we tested it in extremely soft soil, which dampened their effect. Right? Now, if our scientists say they are happy with the results, and clearly our military and our prime ministers are happy with the results, well and good. If they aren't, if Trump creates the opening for further testing, I'm sure we'll take it up. On nuclear issues, I don't think any prime minister of India ever has in any form or way weakened the actual deterrent. They might have made these statements to, lull the enemy into a sense of complacency. Like, for example, Manmohan Singh said, what is the use of nuclear weapons, etc., etc. And this he said while he himself gave the orders for more nuclear weapons to be produced. If you remember Rajiv Gandhi, this Rajiv Gandhi action plan, why did he come up with this so-called Fabian thing of Rajiv Gandhi action plan where the whole world would give up nuclear weapons? Because he wanted to give the orders to start weaponizing. So he had to take an absolute maximalist position so that he could actually start manufacturing the bombs. So no Prime Minister of India has ever been, idealistic and goofy on.
So let me bring in General Narasimhan on that point, sir. You've been an insider. You probably know what and where things stand. Is the deterrence well established? And again, the question that Sushant Sareen asked, what is minimum? Why do we say minimum?
The reason why we say minimum is, I just want to take a lesson from what Mao Zedong said when he started the China's nuclear program. He said, I need only 6 nuclear weapons. That was his minimum deterrent that he talked about. Okay. So, like Abhijit mentioned, in the credible minimum deterrence part of it, the numbers play only a smaller role. What we need to understand is when we say credible minimum deterrence, the numbers we have is what we have. But what we should be capable of is protecting our systems from any kind of attack on them and be able to respond. That is where the deterrence comes in. So this is something I think we need to keep in mind. On the nuclear doctrine issue, please understand the ambiguity is the one which is our strength. We have kept it minimal. Like, for example, we said no first use. I am slightly at variance with what General Dillon mentioned, because if you are actually going to launch on, in case you find an intention and you launch on it, you actually move from no first use to launch on warning. So that is a difference that we need to actually differentiate. Notwithstanding that.
No, can you explain yourself? I didn't get that. Launch on warning. I didn't understand that. Could you please break that down?
I will break it further. See, China today, when we are actually trying to get the reconnaissance systems, etc., they kept in place, what we expect or what analysts are saying, that from no first use, China is moving towards launch on warning. Launch on warning is actually what General Dillon mentioned. Like, for example, if you see that the enemy or adversary is planning and preparing to launch a nuclear device, then you launch without waiting for it. That is launch on warning. That's a little different from no first use. So that is what we feel, that most of the analysts here, they feel that China is moving from no first use to launch on warning. That is the difference. The other thing is,
So should
We are
we
talking
also,
about,
do we need to now explicitly come out and say we are junking that old no first use NFU?
no first use has got a lot of advantages. China also follows a no first use policy. They have not said officially
Yeah, they've
they are
never.
moving away from it. Okay. No first use gives you certain amount of stability within the international system. That I think we need to actually keep going with it.
Okay.
We can always, by the way, let me also tell you, Abhijit, just give me a second. Let me also tell you that this nuclear doctrine, though it is not in the open domain, that the revisions, I think I'm sure within the establishment, they keep looking at it periodically. So let us not think that,
No, I'm only saying because when Manohar Parrikar had broached the subject, go ahead, Mr. Mitra,
Sorry,
go
I just
ahead,
want
I'll
to
bring in
add-
General. Yeah.
I just want to add to what General Narasimhan said and synthesize what General Dhillon said. You see, because you wanted to know about this minimal. You see, minimal is jargon. It does not mean minimum. Our doctrine is credible minimum deterrence. The credible actually marks the lower end of numbers we require, because to then paraphrase General Saab's quote about Mao Zedong, what is enough to deter China and Pakistan? Is 15 warheads enough? Is 10 enough? Is 5 enough? Minimum connotes the minimum you require when deterrence fails. If those 6 warheads are not enough, how many do you actually need to use? So minimum, very curiously, is also the maximum. So credible is
Because
the
it's
lower,
relative.
minimum is the upper limit, and deterrence is the intended outcome.
Okay. General Dhillon, yes, yeah, I'll come out to you, Sushant Sareen. We have 3 minutes. General Dhillon, I have to ask you this because you sort of did talk about it. Fundamentally, do you believe that as things stand, we have enough to deter our enemies on 2 fronts, that is China and Pakistan? We saw in Operation Sindoor that this was, as Sushant Sareen pointed out, there was a lot at ops level, there was a lot of coordination between the two.
Rahul, yes. As per I've been in offices where certain more information is available. So as per the open sources information, we have enough to deter both the fronts. And then, like I said earlier, the no first use is not cast in stone. At any one time, we can say, okay, here onwards, now that we are in a position where we need to do this, or we will face unacceptable casualties or damages or whatever. So that is very important. And like this minimum, like Mr. Mitra was saying, the minimum, how many times do you want to destroy the world over? In case of a nuclear war between 2 nations, we are the only place where 3 nuclear nations are coexisting next to each other.
That's right.
And they're not very friendly to us, 2 of them. So how many times do you want to destroy the world over? It's adequate. Like Second World War was brought to a halt by 2 nuclear weapons. So minimum is just a phrase.
Okay.
Let's not put numbers to it. And I think more important is let's add delivery systems to it who can.
So are you telling me that we don't need to go back to physical testing? Is that like everyone is agreed on that point? Sushant Sareen, should we just... No, you're not. Okay, so give us your view.
Okay, 3 very quick points. One is a kind of a question to General Narasimhan because he is the China expert. As far as I remember, the Chinese no first use is only against non-nuclear weapon states. It does not apply to nuclear weapon state. So India is a nuclear weapon state, so then NFU has no meaning for us. Number one. Number two, the Pakistanis have they have a first use policy. So we have to take that into account if we are faced with 2 adversaries, especially if they're working together. Secondly, the whole idea of the minimum is also about survivability of your arsenal. If the other side is launching first and they have some kind of a fix on where your nukes are, which is why you go in for a triad, then there are certain numbers, which of course there are people who will figure that out. And finally, look, I agree that it's all about delivery systems. But if you have to marry a warhead to a delivery system, there has to be adequate amount of data. Did the 5 tests that we carried out in 1998 give us adequate data to whatever new warheads that we'll have to for example, produce, which we can marry to new delivery systems. I think these are things that we
Okay, let's quickly run this.
need to work out.
Run these three questions past General Narasimhan. Yes, you heard the questions.
One is of course, the kind of why China's NFU is only against nuclear weapon states. Whether they consider India as a nuclear weapon state is something that you need to understand. They only agree to countries which have actually been nuclear weapon states before the NPT came into existence as nuclear weapon states. They, in their documents, etc., they still do not, though of course they know that we have the nuclear capability, they don't consider us a nuclear weapon state. So that is something that you need to understand. Second is,
wow, then we should definitely carry out a couple of tests to prove that we can.
No, that is one issue. The second issue is there are questions in their no first use also saying that whether what they consider as their territory, will they consider it as their territory, or whether they use it, they'll not use it. These are questions which have been in the domain for a very long time. A lot of people have been actually talking about it. And so that is something that we need to understand. The second question is about the mating of this of the warhead with the delivery systems. So delivery systems, when they are being made and when they are being tried out and tested, these things are actually kept in mind as to how to do these things. And so that is nothing very, it's a rocket science, of course. We keep saying it is not a rocket science. It is a rocket science.
Okay.
And that rocket science is generally taken care of. And so I think we are in a very good place. If we test actually, you will have enough pushback against it, and that is going to affect us also badly. Please take your mind back to 1998. What happened to us? So should we really do it? I'm sure we will leave it for the government to decide, because they are the best people to understand this and do it.
If Trump does it, then does that change things very quickly, sir?
It doesn't change anything for us.
Okay.
Trump can keep doing anything. Russians can keep doing anything. I think we should do what we need to do and what we decide to do.
Okay.
That is the way we
that's,
need to look at it.
That's one view, viewers. I'm sure this debate is going to...
Sorry,
very quickly.
I want to point out Prime Minister Vajpayee's statement, which kind of echoes what General Dhillon said. He said, we're not going to wait. Once we know their missiles are up in the air, we are not going to wait for them to hit us and then hit them back. So he made that very clear. And then there is the very famous 21st October speech 2010
that's true.
of National Security Advisor Shiv Shankar Menon, where he said, no first use, only against non-nuclear weapon states.
That I remember that. That was said. Again, that created a huge debate. And again, there were people who got up and said we should in fact denuclearize. Anyhow, viewers, this is an interesting conversation. And I'm sure if you speak to 4 other people, they'll have 4 other views on it. But we've given you a sort of panoply of views here. Let's move on. Let's switch focus entirely to politics. And viewers, it's just 3 days to go for phase 1. Phase 1 vote day, that is, in Bihar. The election battlefield is ablaze with rhetoric and ridicule. After Prime Minister Modi's katta jibe, which is, a country-made revolver jibe, which he says that these MGB people, the Mahagathbandhan people, want to bring back that katta culture. UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has sharpened the NDA's attack with his now viral Pappu Tappu and Appu taunt, branding the Rahul, Tejaswi, Akhilesh trio as the 3 monkeys of the Mahagathbandhan. Listen in.
बहन और भाइयों, आपने गांधी जी के 3 बंदरों के बारे में सुना होगा, लेकिन आज इंडी गठबंधन के 3 और बंदर आ गए। ये 3 बंदर पप्पू, टप्पू और अप्पू के नाम पर पप्पू, टप्पू और अप्पू के नाम पर पप्पू सच बोल नहीं सकता, अच्छा बोल नहीं सकता, टप्पू अच्छा देख नहीं सकता और अप्पू सच सुन नहीं सकता।
Here's, as expected, there's been a swift response with Akhilesh Yadav dismissing the BJP as a party of gappus or serial promise breakers hiding behind bluster. Listening.
बीजेपी गप्पुओं का मामला है। बीजेपी में गप्पू हैं, बोले हम चांद पे प्लॉट दिला देंगे, आपको 15 लाख अकाउंट में पहुंचा देंगे, कितने करोड़ नौकरी दे देंगे। ये अमेरिका से ठोकर खाए हुए लोग हैं, अमेरिका इन्हें डरा रहा है, इसलिए चुनाव में इनके नाकामी पर बहस न हो, इसलिए ये इस तरह की लैंग्वेज कर रहे हैं।
Well, viewers, whichever way you look at it, the NDA is pitching itself as a merit-first, delivery-driven platform. Can the MGB, which is banking on vote chori, mandal arithmetic and big welfare guarantees, convince it is the alternative? Some of its critics argue that it can't, as it is failing the credibility test. Is this true? Here are some hard facts. Rahul Gandhi, if you remember, campaigned on vote chori, launched the Voter Adhikar Yatra in conjunction with Tejaswi. But Congress never filed a complaint against the EC's SIR, suggesting that the entire process was above board. In effect, Tejaswi vowed government jobs to 2.6 crore people. The pledge requires an estimated expenditure of rupees 12 lakh crores. Bihar's total budget is around 3 lakh crore viewers. Where's the money going to come from? Tejaswi promises 2.6 crore jobs, but slams BJP for making a promise to create 1 crore jobs, saying that it can't be afforded. So if the BJP can't give 1 crore jobs because it can't be afforded, how is it that the MGB can give 2.6 or 3 crore jobs, viewers? The question tonight, will the voter choose performance over promise, governance over grievance, or will social coalition still trump economic reality? How does all this fit in together amongst this slur-based politics, which is, I believe, subverting substance? I want to open this up, and I want to first begin with a political analyst. I don't want to jump into the political fray right now. And Rahul Verma, what is going on here? I mean, I have never come across an election campaign where slurs are replacing substance, or at least they're not. If they're not replacing, they are existing concomitant with substance.
So I don't think this would be the first election where slurs are replacing substance. I think what we are witnessing in Bihar is basically a continuous downfall of political discourse in India, where each party is equally responsible for the downfall of this discourse, and none of them are perhaps you have caught me on a wrong day when I'm a little bit cynical, and cynical especially because it seems that at least parties thinks or politicians thinks that voters actually care about performance rather than substance. Because if people actually cared about serious substance, then parties being rational actors shouldn't be doing that. But they are walking all over it. Not just in Bihar, it happened in previous elections as well as in Lok Sabha elections. And this is the nature of election campaigns, which is basically something sad about our democracy, that in last 2 to 3 weeks up to the polling day, they just make any sort of promises, right? Whether it's BJP or JDU or RJD or Congress, and they basically talk past each other, abuse each other, rather than engaging in a serious, meaningful conversation. So I can't say that one is better over other. I think everyone is doing the same thing.
Okay, Abhijit Iyer Mitra, what does one make of this? Because I thought for a while the BJP was making this election about who is in a position to deliver, right, on the promises. And they seem to have had the upper hand. Now suddenly we've got this new Tappu Pappu business going on. We've got the Katta. So, I mean, I'm finding this rather strange. Why would you want to detract from the message, if at all?
The first issue, of course, that the BJP has right now is most people born in the voting population right now, the youth, they won't remember what things were like under Lalu Prasad Yadav. I mean, Lalu's got a great sense of humor. He keeps making us laugh, whether it be that tree joke he made in Parliament, I will grow fruit tree, etc., or calling people dhania masala vyapari, because coriander is, the adulterant in in dhania powder is cow dung. So, he used to make all these jibes and all of us used to find it hilarious. None of us focused on the fact that he was running a criminal enterprise that used to specialize in extortion, kidnapping. It was full on Gunda Raj out there, and people are too young now to remember what it was like. Number one. Number two, it is a failure across the board that, in spite of having massively reduced crime, not that a candidate like Anant Vijay is a poster boy, Anant Singh is a poster boy for having eliminated crime, but still, that you still have to be promising government jobs. Where is the private sector? Where are the private jobs? Where have you simulated the economy to get these jobs? I think it's an all-round failure. If one person has to promise 1 crore jobs and another has to promise 2.6 crore jobs, you're still essentially creating dependency on the state. I think it is a very telling indictment of economic policy overall, that the government on one hand is admitting that its policy failed, but the opposition is basically admitting that it has no policy at all except blowing up the national exchequer in giving jobs, unproductive jobs that will lead to absolutely nothing, which is what the public sector does.
Mr. Barrier wants to respond. Yes, Mr. Barrier.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Good evening to you and to my co-panelists and all the viewers. I think there is a lot of misconception even amongst the very well-heeled and educated class about the transformation that has gone in Bihar. I just want to share a few data with you.
No, I understand that, Mr. Barrier. Look, we can always look. I have data also, and I can produce
think it. Is very
but look, let's be honest.
That,
one second. People are in a hurry.
Important.
No, 1 second, Mr. Barrier. One minute. I just want to come in. One second, sir. 1 second. Look, the last thing I want is a statistical exercise because it's meaningless. It's meaningless, sir. You have to compare Bihar with other states in the Indian Union. You can't say because we started from a base of 0 and we've got to 3. We've had a 300% jump. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. You need to give me some time.
No, I will give you time. But just address the main question and the main focus of this debate. Sir, if your record is...
But it is important. It is important for the country to know that right now Bihar government spends 37,000 crore on education. Right now, in the whole of Eastern India, the number of startups is highest in Bihar, the registered startups from 2024
So then why are you promising a crore jobs? Important. Why would you want the government to be the bearer of this cross?
Absolutely not. So there is again a misconception, Rahul, that government is the bearer of jobs. Because we do not talk about only government jobs, we also talk about
have you not
Rojgar.
Promised 1 crore government jobs, yes or no?
Yeah.
How many jobs does... Listen to me, sir. Please answer the question.
Yeah,
you can railroad me, sir. Look, I'm not your audience. I'm not voting for
that,
you.
Rahul. You know me.
But listen to me.
I would never do that.
Just give me 30 seconds. Let me ask you the question.
Please.
See, you have promised 1 crore jobs. Look, I'm not even going to Nikhil Jain because he'll be scratching his head. His bosses don't know how to come up with those numbers. His own Congress chief there, Kanhaiya Kumar, was asked a question point blank. He said, go and ask the chief minister, don't ask me. He's the magician. But I want to ask you, sir. You're saying that you're going to be creating 1 crore jobs.
Yes.
Mr. Barrier.
And
right now, hang on. How many state jobs does Bihar offer right now?
First, let me clear the semantics. When we say jobs, and in Hindi we say naukri or rojgar, right? And this is the fundamental difference between what Congress and RJD has offered and what we have done over a period of last 20 years. We have given 50 lakhs jobs, which means not only we are talking about government jobs, which are more than 15 lakhs, but we are also talking about rojgar. And that is where the fundamental difference is.
Oh, Rahul, so you're saying that you're going to create employment...
Opportunities of employment.
Opportunities of employment and employment. Okay, so that 1 crore could be actually only 10,000 jobs or whatever, 10 lakh jobs, and the rest 90 lakhs could be opportunities for jobs. Okay,
absolutely.
So fine. So 1 second, then let me bring in the Jain, Mr. Jain. Mr. Jain, that really puts you in this category of being gappus. No wonder these epithets are flying fast and loose, that some people can't speak the truth, some people can't take the truth, some people don't want to see the truth, because you're promising 3 crore jobs, 2.6 crore jobs, which would require financing to the tune of 4 times more than Bihar's budget, extant budget.
That's 50,000 jobs per day. Rahul, government jobs 50,000 per day.
50,000 per day.
Months.
Manish, if I had to turn, can I now please speak? So, Rahul, first of all, you posed a question to Abhijit. Why would you want to distract from the message? Why are you talking about Katta, Appu, Pappu, Gappu? The reason the BJP and the Prime Minister are talking about all of this is because they know the entire manifesto that they've promised would be a bunch of jumlas, and Amit Shah's clearly time and again said that after the 2014 promises were made about 2 crore jobs a year, 15 lakhs in the bank account.
Again,
No one said
House,
15 lakhs.
person
Please,
getting a
one
house.
second. Mr. Jain, answer the question. What about you is not going to get you anywhere. You need to convince the voter.
Right now?
You are sitting not in power. You need to ensure that these voters come to you. So explain to me, sir, this promise of 3 crore jobs that you want to create. How is that going to happen?
So the difference between what Tejasvi Yadav is promising right now and what the BJP is promising right now, because both of them are talking about employment opportunities and the crores. The difference is that the BJP and NDA have been in government in Bihar for about 2 decades, and in those decades they could not offer any job
Sir,
bonanza
I'm asking
except
you, 3 crore jobs,
during the.
where are you going
Can
to
I please
create them
answer?
from? And why
Can I
should we
please
believe
answer?
you if you don't have the maths? Then obviously, sir, this epithet that you're throwing around of gappus, they apply to you most.
Rahul, Tejasvi Yadav has shown a track record
He
of
hasn't.
making an
He
outlandish
said that we will
promise.
do it.
No, hold
God
on.
willing.
Can I-
Inshallah, we will do it.
Can I please complete what I'm trying to say, Rahul? Tejasvi Yadav made a supposedly outlandish promise in 2020 when he said that I'm going to give out over 1 million jobs, and people laughed at him. Nitish Kumar, the then chief minister, also said, "Kahan se paisa laega? Apne baap ke ghar se paisa laega kya?" But when the same Tejasvi Yadav, along with the Congress, joined hands with the same Nitish Kumar, he was able to deliver on that promise, and now the BJP
He
wants to run with that promise.
He wasn't
Oh,
able to deliver.
Nitish
He
Kumar
wasn't
ne
able to
kiya tha.
deliver, and that's half
he's
the
not
problem.
right.
That's why today he's
You want
having
me-
a problem trying to
Can I
convince
show you
Lorena.
statement
Just
from BJP?
viewers, one second.
I will show
let's
you-
just move on. Let's just move on. In this entire rubric, there's another conversation that has come up, and it couldn't have come up at a worse time. Viewers, just days before voters are to press the button, Shashi Tharoor has penned an article serving up a reminder to all voters warning against the consequence of voting for Dinas. He says the promise of democracy, government of the people, by the people, for the people cannot be fully realized as long as Indian politics continues to remain a family enterprise. Dynastic politics across political spectrum poses a grave threat to Indian democracy. The quality of governance suffers. High time India traded dynasty for meritocracy. And what's worse, Tharoor has named the dynasts who are benefiting because of their surname. And who are these people, viewers? He's talked about Biju Patnaik's son, Naveen Patnaik. He's talked about Shiv Sena founder Bal Thackeray, who passed the baton on to his son Uddhav and now Aditya. Party Ram Vilas Paswan and his son Chirag. Shiromani Akali Dal, the Prakash Singh Badal and his son Sukhbir. Telangana's succession war. He's also talked about, apart from the Gandhis, viewers, the late M. Karunanidhi, DMK, MK Stalin, and the grandson, Udaynidhi. He's talked about the Abdullahs, he's talked about the Muftis. Viewers, he hasn't spared anyone. And he says that they are a threat to democracy as their entitled status ciphers merit. And shouldn't the Congress explain why its leaders then claim to be the guardian of republicanism in India? And that's the question I want to ask Nikhil Jain. Nikhil Jain, Rahul Gandhi says, I'm the guardian of republicanism. The most eloquent spokesperson, MP in your party, is Shashi Tharoor. And he says, my foot, dynasts are actually a threat to democracy. And the time has come when we get rid of these dynasts. He's calling for a revolution.
I don't know how today, Rahul, you find yourself supporting a revolution, but what Dr. Tharoor has said is that he's
I'm
raised a
talking
problem
about,
with
sir,
Indian
a
democracy.
political revolution. I'm not talking about people cutting off anyone's heads. Don't be, outlandish. I'm just generally saying. I'm asking you, republicanism is what? Republicanism.
That's what you do to left intellectuals.
Republicanism
Rahul,
is.
I'm just giving you a taste of your own medicine.
No, one second. Republicanism is what Rahul Gandhi swears by. How can he be that when he's a dynast and Shashi Tharoor is calling him out? Why isn't the Congress responding to Shashi Tharoor?
See, because Rahul Gandhi is somebody who has won 5 Lok Sabha elections. It is the people of Amethi and Raebareli and Wayanad who voted him into power, and not just because he is some Gandhi or some Nehru. Of course, he does get benefit from that. Of course, he does benefit from the legacy. And Rahul Gandhi himself has raised this issue in the past that political parties need to start looking beyond dynasts, and that is what he's doing. You look at
How?
Bihar right now.
How is
Bihar
he
going
doing
to
it?
polls. I'll tell you. I'll tell you how. The in charge of Bihar, Krishna Alabaru, no political background. Akhilesh Singh, one of the arguably the tallest leader of the Congress in Bihar.
Who's
his
the
own
chief
son did not
ministerial
get a ticket.
face?
Is he from the Congress?
I'm asking you, who's the chief ministerial face?
And I'm asking you, is he from the
I'm
Congress?
asking you, sir. He's your coalition partner. He's your
Tejasvi
coalition's
Yadav is the
face.
chief minister.
Right. Who is the
Tejasvi
face?
Yadav.
Who is the
Tejas-
face of India's opposition?
Rahul Gandhi is the face of India's opposition after having
and what
won
makes
so
him?
many elections.
Has he ever
after
won?
having
Has he
won the
ever? No,
trust.
hang on. Has he ever held office?
He's been holding the office of a member of parliament for the past 21 years. He's
Oh
been
my
the leader
God.
of opposition for
Yours-
over a year. He's been the president of the Congress party. No, hold on, Rahul. Rahul, it's very
Shashi
easy to
Tharoor
take,
has come out and said
jibes.
that dynasty.
Dr.
Viewers,
Tharoor
one
may
second.
come
I'm not
out
saying it.
and
I don't know why he's
say anything
attacking
that he
me.
wants.
Nikhil Jain, I don't know
No, I'm
why
not
you're
trying to
attacking
attack
me.
you.
Tell me, why
I'm
would
not
Shashi
attacking you,
Tharoor feel
Rahul.
compelled to make a statement like this? If Rahul Gandhi was
Because
affecting a
politics is
change.
place- Let me be very honest and candid with you, Rahul. Politics is a place where you need to continue to maintain your relevance. If Dr. Tharoor has written an
wow.
op-ed that has gotten him into discussions,
So he's a
that is
headline
his
hunter,
politics,
you
and
mean.
it is
Okay.
perfectly.
Abhijit
I'm
Iyer
not saying
Mitra,
that. I'm not saying
he's
that
just
at
a
all.
headline
I'm not saying
hunter
that at
who
all.
wants to be relevant and stay in the headlines.
Rahul, that is not
Look
what
at
I
the
said.
contempt,
That is not
viewers.
what I said. That is not what I said. I said Dr. Tharoor has written an op-ed that has got him into national news. Now, that is not to say that he's a headline hunter. He's raising an issue that Rahul Gandhi himself has raised. What is wrong in that?
But never practiced.
He
He
can
keeps
raise
raising
whatever
the
issue.
issue. Okay. Yes.
He contests
Abhijit
from the
Iyer
Lok
Mitra. See,
Sabha,
this
not
is
the
what
Rajya
I'm
Sabha
saying,
like
viewers.
Piyush
This is the
He
problem.
contests from the Lok Sabha, not the Rajya
This
Sabha
is the
like Piyush
problem.
Goyal.
You can't promise an alternative that comes from the grassroots. And you talk about republicanism. Mr. Mitra.
So you see, dynasties apply to human beings. The Nehru Gandhis are not human beings; they are gods. Do you ever say that Ganesha and Muruga being gods is dynasty in the pantheon just because they're Shiva and Parvati's children? No. So see, Rahul Gandhi is a god. He's elevated above all us dirty, stinky Indians, and he does not measure by
What
the
is
same
this nonsense here?
the different standards apply. So I 100% support Honorable Shri Rahul Gandhi ji, Honorable Member of Parliament, for taking on this thing to de-dynastify. But he should definitely lead by example. I think he and his sister, and he should, like Tsar Nicholas abdicated for his son also,
Yeah.
the Tsarevich. He should also abdicate for Rehan Vadra, and all three of them should claim that they are not going to be any part of politics. And I completely support Honorable Shri Rahul Gandhi ji because he's a god, like I said.
Well, viewers, Nikhil Jain says that Rahul Gandhi is trying to affect a change. And how does he do it? By bringing Priyanka Gandhi Vadra into politics out of retirement. I mean, at 53 or 54 or whatever, 51, 52, I don't know what her age
was
is.
the margin of
She was
victory of
never,
Priyanka Gandhi?
viewers
What was
never,
the margin of
never.
victory of Priyanka
Okay,
Gandhi?
Nikhil Jain, why are you shouting
What
at
was
me?
that?
Relax. Why are you shouting at
By
me?
a popular mandate, you can't.
Sir,
you
I mean,
can't
Anand
reject the
Singh has
voter
won by a
segments, you
popular
can't make-
mandate. Does that make him? No, hang on. Anand Singh has won by a popular mandate. There are several criminals who win by popular mandate. Does that legitimize them? You see, viewers, this is the issue.
They
We
also win by
confuse.
rigging
We
the
confuse.
local electoral
One second. We confuse winning elections, viewers, with a certain degree of legitimacy. That's the problem.
Why are you saying that about the
If
Prime
you are
Minister?
exonerated
Why
in
are
the
you saying that about the Prime
if you are
Minister and our
exonerated
stupid
in
policies?
the if you are exonerated in the public court, that means everything is okay. You don't have to be tried for anything. You're above it. This is the elite mentality. This is jante nahi hu main kiska son hu mentality.
How is this elite mentality?
So I want to
You're
ask you,
going
Nikhil
the
Jain,
people and you're getting an answer from them.
what made Priyanka Gandhi Vadra get a ticket in your party? What is the qualification?
I'll tell you what. In politics, any political party tries to give a ticket to the person who's most likely to win. That is primary
There you go,
consideration, which was
viewers.
exactly the consideration for the Congress party.
Cynicism.
What?
Cynicism.
How's this cynicism?
Complete
He won
cynicism,
by a
viewers.
margin of
It is just about.
4 lakh votes.
Yeah. Why doesn't she? No, hang on. Which constituency, according to you, did she nurse all these years?
She's nursing Amethi and Raebareli.
Why didn't she contest from there? Why didn't she contest from Raebareli and Amethi?
That is for the Congress.
That is for the Congress. Viewers, you see, you can even pick your seat because you know it's a safe seat and you know why it's a safe seat, viewers.
So
you have a surname, you have a safe seat, you have a safe... No, 1 second. You have a safe seat, you have a surname, you have absolute sovereign authority.
Shall we talk about Samrat Chaudhary?
Sovereign authority.
Shall we talk about Samrat
And this
Chaudhary?
is fundamentally the issue, viewers. I'm talking about them all. I'm not here. I have a problem with all dynasts. Excuse me. In every party.
Name them.
Well, you tell me. Which ones do you want me to name? Which side? The BJP?
Piyush Goyal.
Piyush Goyal. I have a problem with the dynast. I have a dynast problem. At least I recognize it. At least I ask these questions.
Say that Piyush Goyal should resign.
I read out the names of Paswan. I read out the name of Mr. Paswan. I read out the name of Mr. Hang on, of the BJP.
In the BJP.
No, 1 second. Why are you mulling away? Why are you mulling away? The point is, I asked you a fundamental question.
You can name every single party except the BJP, my friend. That's the problem.
Mr. Nikhil Jain. Mr. Tharoor hasn't named any BJP leader. Show me in that article.
Now, why has he not named?
Now, why has he not named? Because he's a headline hunter who's now looking for a sinecure. You see, viewers? Yes, Abhijit Ahar Mitra. The point is, this debate has started because it's a congressman raising the issue, not Rahul Shiv Shankar. But Rahul Shiv Shankar is getting yelled at for no rhyme or reason. Because this is what I'm telling you. Yes, viewers.
There are two separate issues out here. You see, one is the laws of the land. The other is popularity.
Yeah.
Now, claiming that, winning an election is acquittal in the court of the people, as one smart aleck Congress leader used it, is not. You see, popularity is not what happens in court. Court is court, popularity is popularity. Winning an election doesn't absolve you of crimes, number one. Number two, we need to understand very clearly that even when it is public validation, which you get, remember, Sitaram Kesari and Narasimha Rao in his second election won significantly more seats than Rahul Gandhi has ever won.
That's true.
One was locked up in the bathroom. The other was kicked out and his body wasn't even allowed to enter the Congress headquarters. It was left outside to rot in the stairs of the Congress.
Well put.
So with all due respect.
And remember.
A leader who has lost an election 3 times in a row.
Is there. He's a CEO.
That there is accountability and validation.
Zero.
I'm going to laugh my head off.
Zero. And let me also tell you, viewers, you can gauge the frustration within the Congress. This is a Congress leader speaking, not anyone else from outside the party. The fingers are being pointed from within the Congress. I leave it at this.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
The Indian Heaven Premier League, the T20 cricket tournament taking place in Srinagar in Jammu and Kashmir, involving local, national and international players, has encountered significant challenges. Some players are stranded at a local hotel, and reports suggest that organizers have fled the valley. The event, organized by a private company and sponsors, is facing difficulties after several players allegedly boycotted the matches due to unpaid dues, leading to a disruption.
Unfortunately, bills haven't been paid, staff haven't been paid, hotels haven't been paid. The hotel was instructed this morning to lock all doors and leave all players and all staff within the building on instruction from the league. Unfortunately, they have had to carry that out. We are still waiting for the balance to be paid. It's made the rest of the payment. We have come to an agreement with the owners at this moment in time to allow the players home to their families, as obviously they're not getting any money whilst they're here. They haven't been paid themselves, and it's not fair on the players being away from their homes and their families for this long.
That's quite a charge that's coming from one of the English umpires there, going on record talking about unpaid dues. She's also, in fact, claiming that all of the players have been put on these hotel arrests in Srinagar. The sponsors, the organizers have fled and they have not paid the dues, and that's why the players have refused to be participating in that entire Indian Heaven Premier League tournament. And remember, this is not just about local players. There are international players who have come, national level players who are associated with this particular tournament, but certainly ended up giving a bad name to this entire Premier League that was announced initially, and now is facing too many hurdles, and allegations have been really bad as far as this entire tournament is concerned. If players are coming on record, they're talking about how they have been placed under arrest. They're not even being allowed to go out of Srinagar to go back to their families. My colleague Ishan Vani is now joining us on the broadcast. Ishan, that's a huge claim that has been made by the players. They've gone on record. They're talking about how they are on hotel arrest. Dues have not been paid, not just of the hotels, but also to the players.
Well, absolutely right. The problem stemmed when the league did not see so much of participation of local coming to watch. If you recall, there was a league last year which had a massive crowd. Even tickets and the stadium were sold out, and there was no one, no ticket available for them. So they were banking on the sort of audience that was drawn last year because of the international participation of players like Chris Gayle, Sri Lankan players, and also players from Bangladesh were seen that, those players were participating in that event. And now what we have seen, what has happened is that, this year when the league was going on, it did not draw massive crowd, and players were left in their hotels, and the hotel was not ready to ask them to leave, and they were stranded in the hotel. Even one of the umpires from we are told of British origin, had to contact embassy to rescue herself from the hotel. And there were other players also who were part of that league who could not actually leave. But local players were also staying in the hotel. And this league, what we have been given to understand, that has become failure. And those who were organizing it were from outside Jammu and Kashmir, who then left J&K and have never returned. And they have to pay the players. And that's why you saw that certain foreign players were disgusted by the fact that they were unpaid, that they were not even allowed to go out of the hotel. And the matches which were planned yesterday, where actually they were told that there's a technical issue that has been faced by them. And that's why, they have been told now that this league would not go on. But definitely a shameful event that has taken place where West Indian cricketer and superstar like Chris Gayle, Sri Lankan players and other international players from New Zealand were taking part, and they haven't been made, payments haven't been made, and the league has been left even without playing further matches, and the winding up of match had taken place. And even there was a sports star from the locals who had given support in terms of items that they had produced there, be the logistics and other things. They are also claiming that their money hasn't been paid, and those who are organizing it have fled Jammu and Kashmir.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
The Indian Heaven Premier League T20 cricket tournament taking place in Srinagar in Jammu and Kashmir, involving local, national and international players, has encountered significant challenges. Some players are stranded at a local hotel, and reports suggest that organizers have fled the valley. The event, organized by a private company and sponsors, is facing difficulties after several players allegedly boycotted the matches due to unpaid dues, leading to a disruption.
Unfortunately, bills haven't been paid, staff haven't been paid, hotels haven't been paid. The hotel was instructed this morning to lock all doors and leave all players and all staff within the building on instruction from the league. Unfortunately, they have had to carry that out. We are still waiting for the balance to be paid. It's made the rest of the payment. We have come to an agreement with the owners at this moment in time to allow the players home to their families, as obviously they're not getting any money whilst they're here. They haven't been paid themselves, and it's not fair on the players being away from their homes and their families for this long.
That's quite a charge that's coming from one of the English umpires there, going on record talking about unpaid dues. She's also, in fact, claiming that all of the players have been put on these hotel arrests in Srinagar. The sponsors, the organizers have fled and they have not paid the dues, and that's why the players have refused to be participating in that entire Indian Heaven Premier League tournament. And remember, this is not just about local players. There are international players who have come, national level players who are associated with this particular tournament, but certainly...
Hello, Namaskar. This is First Post and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. Tonight, we're coming to you from Helsinki, the capital of Finland, a country that sits right on NATO's frontier with Russia. Finland shares the longest NATO border with Russia, which is more than 1,300 kilometers. And that gives it a ringside view of the war in Ukraine and a powerful voice in shaping Europe's response. Today, we sat down with Finland's President, Alexander Stubb, to talk about how this war could end and what role India might play in that process. President Stubb called India the next superpower. He said New Delhi could help bridge the diplomatic divide, and he defended India's decision to keep buying Russian oil. He said he cannot blame India for its purchases. He also spoke about Europe's choices. Did the West underestimate Russia's intentions? Has Europe done enough to stop the war from spreading? And is Finland now a NATO member facing any direct threat from Russia? And two very special reports from Finland too, on its long relationship with Moscow, and why the city of Helsinki is called the design capital of the world. Also on the show, is Russia moving Wagner mercenaries to Venezuela? India is set to triple incentives for rare earth magnet manufacturing. Trump is threatening to attack Nigeria for, and I quote, the killing of Christians. Indonesia's China-backed high-speed rail project struggles under mounting debt. What is this new comet that the internet says will hit the earth? And a historic win for India's women's cricket team. They have won the maiden World Cup trophy. All this and more coming up, but first the headlines.
A strong earthquake kills at least 20 people and injures more than 500 in northern Afghanistan just months after another deadly tremor had left the country reeling. The 6.3 magnitude quake struck overnight. It is the latest natural disaster for the Taliban government, which has faced 3 major deadly earthquakes since taking over Afghanistan in 2021.